Heary Real Estate is a full-service real estate agency specializing in residential real estate in the Marion County area. Heary Real Estate lists and sells the majority of real estate in the immediate Marion area. In fact, they sell the majority of Marion real estate listed by other companies as well. They also serve the surrounding communities in the county, including Marion County Lake, Hillsborough, Peabody, Lincolnville, and Florence. Hannaford Abstract and Title Company provides abstracts of title and title insurance for homeowners and mortgage lenders. They also provide real estate closings for your transactions. Why do you need title insurance? For most Americans, our home is the single largest financial investment we will ever make. Having a clear title is important to the sale and purchase of your home. Your title insurance policy is your assurance that the home you are buying is protected from any title problems now and down the road.
Regular meeting of the council, please come to order. Let's stand and say the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have three council persons. Four. We have four council persons present, so we do have a quorum. And let's take a look at our agenda. This clerk, do you know of anything that we need to add or amend?
I have no changes.
How about the rest of you? If not, motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Todd and seconded by Chris. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Are there any items that you'd like to have pulled for further discussion on the consent agenda? If not, I move approval. Seconded by Todd. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried 4-0. And I believe Mr. Formally brought up. Okay.
Mark was in charge. I thought Rep Mark was
He's the chairman. He is the chairman.
Yeah, we're doing a tag team since I was unable.
You're going to tag team?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was unable to attend the meeting because of families thing, so I asked Margo to do the presentation.
Okay.
Apologize for how I'm dressed. I'm on the way to the ball field.
Are you going to play?
No.
I was going to say this, for second base, I'd come play first.
The Planning Commission would like to recommend the conditional use permit for the park bathrooms. The way Paul did his motion was, Paul moved to approve the CUP on the condition that the building meets the building codes and zoning regulations regarding height and setback locations within the property, and then the location of the building will be based on City Council's final decision.
And you gave us your minutes, didn't you?
Yes, is that sufficient for something in writing?
That is until you come up with another form, I guess, and be attached to that form, I think is what I've heard that you may be looking at.
Okay.
Is that right, Todd? Would you like to, is that what you're thinking about? Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions for the chairman or Mrs. Yates? Any discussion about it? It was pretty open-ended there. I think that we had pretty good discussion about it. And Todd was there to give the park board's
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was a good opportunity for the public to be able to express their opinions on things, so I think it was a good use of time. I was pleased that I think it lasted about an hour, you know, not bad. But yeah, we determined that really setbacks are pretty much all we can look at on this, and that's really not an issue in this, what we could tell, and, you know, as far as location, may the force be with you.
Would anyone like to have approval of that, the recommendation? I would,
It's kind of vague.
Well,
that's about all
I
we
mean,
can
it's
do.
just like,
I mean, it's just not up to us, Jerry, as to where it's located, and there were several options, and, you know, so I think it's still out there for discussion, but the whole thing was, we did hear from the public and kind of got a consensus on what they were thinking, and that's good, you know.
I would just like,
Yeah,
I'd like
go
to
ahead.
clarify that the planning commission's responsibility is to review conditional use permit applications and come to the city council with a recommendation. If the city decides to build a restroom in the Central Burger Park, you will need to have a conditional use permit. And so in effect, to continue on, you would need to either ratify and approve the recommendation of the planning commission to, in effect, grant yourselves or the city of Marion a conditional use permit. So that would be the next step at this point for the council to act upon the recommendations of planning commission to grant the city of Marion a conditional use permit, and then we can go on from there, so we have that hurdle jumped for our zoning regs. That's why we're doing this.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve a conditional use permit for the city of Marion for a restroom in Central/Burger.
Since I was in attendance, I would second that motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and work again.
Well, I'd like to say again, and I said it that night, but thanks to everybody who's working on this, because it's good. No matter where it ends up, it's a good thing, so thank you.
All right, now we have a discussion of the industrial park lot.
Council received a memo from me concerning an offer from an entity to purchase Lot 7, Block 1. I've assembled the tax information, the appraised value, as well as an aerial map to show the location. The lot is we have an offer on the table of $4,500 for the lot, and I would like for the council to either accept this offer, refuse the offer, or suggest other ways to approach this.
Would you go through this a little bit and clarify a little bit of it, please? On the property address part of it now.
If you kept it in the proper order that it was sent to you at, the very first page is actually your tax information. This item shows that in the year 2012, the city of Marion paid $827.30 in taxes. That's that total tax you'll see. So on an annual basis, the city of Marion can expect on this one lot to pay $827, and probably should expect to see that stay there, if not increase.
So its assessed value is 4,000 something, right?
Right, the assessed value is $42.73. Now, there's a huge difference between assessed and appraised. That's why the second sheet is provided. Now, on the second sheet, you'll notice that there is a down below near the bottom, a 2013 appraised value. The land itself is appraised at $15,900. The building that's referenced is actually the lift station for the sewage out there, and it is fully within easements. I've already gone out and marked it, so per the platted easements, obviously, if we were going to sell the lot, it would be subject to the established easements that have been platted into that property.
Okay.
The third page was
That
just...
was what I didn't know that.
Right. And then the third page was just extra information. And the fourth page shows a map of the target property as it's located in the industrial park, which is directly north of the Carty's Oil Building.
And this, would this have to be any fill put into this if they were to build on it?
No improvements required of the city. It would be a cash transaction, they would buy it as is.
And I'm going to just ask, would there have to be any filter put into this particular location if there was a building put on it?
No,
So there's not going to be any building on this?
that there is no promise of any future building at this point on this parcel, no.
That's pretty prime place there at that corner for industry, isn't it? No, no. Residential.
Pretty much.
The prime corner there.
For a prime.
Since some of these we know is going to have lots of fill dirt in order to make it prime. But then I'm wanting to get rid of it as fast as I can to get it on tax road, but then I want to think about the location of that lot.
They're gonna pay less taxes than we did.
Yeah, that's
That's
for
pretty
sure.
valued. What you actually go for. I make a motion to sell it.
For,
4,500.
and is there a second?
I'd second.
Seconded by Chris. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Oh, I forgot to raise my hand. Sorry, that was a fourth thing, but opposed. Okay. Motion carried 4-0.
I will have a contract at the next city council meeting for signatures.
Okay. And, well, that's all for this time then. Yes. A contract written up to be signed, correct?
Yes, a valid real estate contract for the state of Kansas.
Okay, number 6 is a possible action on location for the restrooms and centralized in the Central Broken Park, and he would put that down for me because I did say that I think we're ready to make a decision on or we should be ready to make a decision on where it's going to be, if there's going to be any. We've had quite a little bit of discussion on the fact that could have been in one of 3 places. And I'm just going to move that we locate the restrooms at the location it's presently is. That does not say anything about the design or anything, just we're going to pick the location as where it is right now. Is there a second? Is there a second? Well, since you're not having any second, I guess you're not ready to make any decision on where that location is unless I hear further action or another motion.
I had some questions on that, and I don't know if I can ask.
Well,
questions.
he has quite a bit of information. I should have let him talk first about the lift and that thing. Is that what you're wanting to know about? And the-
Well, if it go clear on the east side, is that the same kind of lift as right in the middle? I mean, it'd be higher.
There would be a lift necessary at both
Would it be
locations.
the same? You know,
There's a possibility we could reuse potentially some of the lift components at the gazebo, but that can be used at either location. So I guess, yes, it should be similar systems either on the east side or where it currently is now.
And the sewer line itself?
The established sewer line to the gazebo as it sits is 1.25 inch line, and to the best of our knowledge, we think that would be sufficient to handle more stalls for restrooms.
then if it was built on the east side, would the other one stay?
The concept at this point is that the restrooms would be solely on the east side, and then a gazebo, additional funds would be raised so that a new and improved gazebo would be placed at the current gazebo in the central part of the park.
So you gained a building like that?
That would be correct.
And there has been thought to completely destroy the building right there where it is and put up a whole new thing there too. You really know that, don't you?
That was your motion.
No, I didn't say anything, but I just said the location right now. That's all I'm going on, to get satisfied that we're gonna build it right there. Nothing about the plans at this time, in this motion at least.
Well, Madam Mayor, I don't know if we're ready to make that decision. I really appreciate the discussion that came out of the Planning Commission hearing. I think we definitely had some good input from those that attended. I know Doug and several other of us have received emails and other comments about location too. I don't know if we're ready yet, but I think we do need to start planning and looking at some options. I see you two have brought a different set of plans that may be proposed for the current location. So, but I don't know as I'm ready to make that decision till we see some additional options for the proposed sites. Again, I think the input that we had will help us to make a decision, but I don't know as we're ready for that.
What else do you want to get, Todd? As far as to start making decisions?
Well, it does make a difference to me if you're picking the center or the motion that you made or the current location as well, then what will this look like? I don't think it should look like what was presented to the Planning Commission because that's not the right design of the building there. So, but maybe that's the right design for somewhere else. So,
That was a brick wall.
well, the recommendation was to cement it, it would be concrete, then with stone on the outside, and cover the stone.
That was
But-
one recommendation.
Yeah.
And I don't know, who came up with that one? Did the park board come up with
Yeah.
that particular one?
Yeah, Park Board and, well, Darren Newfield's help as well. It was off that design that we had looked at about a year and a half ago.
Are you talking limestone around the outside of it on that aspect, which would tie in with the rest of what we have?
Have in the park, yeah.
So the park board does not have any plans at this time?
Well, right now, it's out of the Park Board's hands unless the council says, okay, we have a CPU approved, go back and be our information gathering group and give us some alternatives for the proposed three sites. I mean, that's a possibility. Or the park, or the city staff would then be directed to gather this information and make some proposals
Well, I
for
think that
for the different locations.
I'm sure he's probably told you, but he's offered some information to me about maybe getting some grants for this project. And what else did you tell me the other day?
Well, the first one that we could look at is a CAN step, which is leveraging sweat equity with the state program to get a dollar for dollar match for all the sweat equity we put into it. Quite frankly, at the size of the project, we're looking at community facility CDBG. If we went on to the 2014 application period, you know, we've gotten CDBGs in $300,000-$400,000. If the total project is $120,000, then the CDBG would only be around $80,000. So I know I shouldn't say only, but because if the municipality takes it, then we'd have the opportunity to possibly apply for grants to help us leverage those funds. Furthermore, I think it needs to still be a discussion as to the donations that have already been received. I think some efforts on behalf of the city needs to be extended to MAC and find out how those funds are going to be handled in the future. So I think now that we have a conditional use and it appears as though the city's tackling the project, we might even put a small survey in the utility billing to find out they could send it back with their utility bill saying, of the three sites, which one do you like the most? This seems to be a fairly important subject for the community, and I think we need to probably make sure that we do our best efforts as possible to get the majority of where they want to have it.
Okay, the park board has been a recommendation point so far. I would just, as soon as leave it there and for advisement and come up with a location and as for the next step.
I would like to see a plan for the building, full plan, and if you're gonna put a plan out there for each site. So if this one building would work west side and east side, fine. But what was presented before won't work in the center at all, to me.
No,
So I'd like to sort of see the plan from the park board, what their thoughts are, is what they, a little bit more detailed on that. I think that we need to take our time to make this decision. I'm not ready to make a decision as to where it's placed right now.
has Marty talked to you anything about maintenance of how many stalls it's gonna be? He's got a pretty good handle on on the baseball complex and anything that's been going wrong with that as to maintenance and so forth. The number of stalls that we actually need for this particular project too. I'm wondering about 2 or 3 stalls. Which do we need?
I haven't
For sure.
spoken, Marty has not ventured any opinion as far as maintenance requirements for.
Well, he sure needs to be involved because he's probably going to be the one, or someone in that capacity is going to be the one that'll have to be going through and getting the maintenance on that project. So maybe he can get some ideas or give us some ideas of what he's had down up there on the baseball complex and some of his problems of that building, and that's more or less what they would be. Is that more or less what you would be proposing?
I'm not proposing anything.
No, I'm not, no, the one that was proposed, would that be kind of like that building?
To the best of my understanding, that one was going to be using more of a vandalism tamper-proof type facility, stainless steel, not ceramic or porcelain.
Inside?
Tougher materials, putting a floor drain in where if it really got bad, we could dump a bottle of bleach in there and then bring in the fire truck and hose it down and it would be clean. So I think knowing what we're up against as far as a public restroom facility, the design of the building would aid immensely in the maintenance necessary to keep it a good, viable facility.
Exactly.
So as far as comparing it to what we have now, what's down there was not really designed to be, it was designed as a household restroom that's used by 1,500 people on a weekend during Chingawassa, and it wasn't designed for that. Whereas this, to the best of my understanding, we would be looking at highly ruggedized fixtures within there,
So it'd be easier to maintain.
substantially, is the plan.
The original plan that we had picked was what some of the buildings that are actually out at the reservoir that were precast and set in out there. So there are examples of the type of product
So did
within
they
a
have
few
any,
miles.
did they have any estimate on cost of it all?
Yeah, oh, yeah, we did.
What were some of them?
The unit that we had the picture of, with the 3 stalls on each side, with 2 sinks on each side, with the stainless steel, was $80,000, and that was before it was delivered. Another $10,000 for delivery, and that does not include any of your site prep. So we were originally looking at $110,000 to $120,000 for that project.
So if we could go for the original site, could you do a renovation or going down to the cement for 120, you think?
At the original site,
Right.
well, if that's what the amount is, that's what we could work around. The original thought of the park board was not to have the restroom in the center of the park, but to have the location. The park board did recommend the east side of the park.
And-
But to have in the center of the park, a new gazebo of roughly the same size that is there. That would be open all side with no restrooms, so that you could have a full view of the park, so that
Okay,
is.
is that what you think that they are recommending? Are you, as a park board, are recommending that particular?
Well, if I remember correctly, when I gave the presentation, it was just for the restroom, and so we did not recommend anything about the center of the park. But in keeping with that thought process, is that the restroom would be located somewhere else, and then a new gazebo would be erected at the current site.
At a later time?
Well, it could be done at the same, all depends on the money. We were looking at trying to get the restroom issue taken care of first. That way, that the
Well-
existing facility could be used until the next phase of raising the money for just the gazebo.
Or with the debate that you had at the meeting, would the park board be willing, do you think, or take it back to them as to coming up with possibly something for both locations as to have the people to vote on? Because, or if you want their recommendation, we're gonna have to have something for them to have at both locations, I would think. And you have your recommendation for one location, which could be either on the east side or the west side, correct? Or anywhere you want in the
Well,
park.
I mean, you could use it, but we never envisioned the design of the pit to be in the center.
Well, I know that, that's what I said, it could be at any place in the park except the center. Would you think that the park board would be willing to take upon themselves to come up with a little bit of a,
Well,
I know this comes from Pam, is she the president or the chairman of your committee?
Yes, I believe Pam is the chairman.
Okay, so she's the one that gave me this, do you think that she had the whole,
No, the park board has not looked at that, and
okay?
I suppose we could discuss that. I would think that this is at a level where the city staff, rather than the park board, can kind of help finish this up, as the park board made the recommendation. of
Well, the
east
park
side.
board came up with a location of over on the east side or the west side, correct?
Well, we looked at a bunch, but when I was here 3 meetings ago, the park board did vote, and we picked the east side of the park.
Did you?
That's what,
Okay.
so that's what we recommended.
The
Okay.
west, you picked the west side.
West.
No.
You picked, the park board picked the east
The
side.
park board picked the east side.
I thought it was both, you had both, but the one you wanted really was over on the west side, but then I might have been,
If I did not mean to, after some of the input from community members, the park board at its last meeting voted to go with the east side of the park.
okay, so we are ready to vote then, if you can get, why don't we get Pam as your chairman here at our next meeting to propose that particular thing, and we'll vote it up or down, if that's gonna be the location. But she also gave me this to propose, so
Right,
maybe she can take that again and,
Well, I think out of the public hearing that there it appeared to be a small group there that liked the idea of using the center of the park for the restrooms.
I think you're right, and this is where Pam got us drawing of this, as she mentioned it when she gave me this particular thing. So I thought at this point, you were ready to have the location set, and you were ready to maybe go ahead and make the design at the next meeting, maybe.
Well,
Recommend.
well, and again, we're just recommending, and the decision falls back with the council. So I don't know, I'm sure the park board will have no problem discussing that.
Okay, then I'm going to direct the park board to take these two, it's Pam's, go ahead and take those two, and maybe she and the park board can come back with at least what they would recommend, and maybe at the time make us a survey if you want to put it into the electrical thing. Is that what you mentioned? With the 3 sites or whatever? Is that what you mentioned?
Plumbing will be the biggest issue, water and sewer.
Okay, I think that the west side was completely out from what I heard there that night. But then,
Well, from the people that were there.
For the
Right.
people that were there,
and so if you'd like to take that and talk it over with your park board and make sure she has both locations, that this is what you have here and this is what you have in the middle perhaps, I think we're ready to set on the site. So you can get to work then and get your funding started. Because I've still heard this funding isn't going anywhere because they don't know where it's gonna be. And I don't know whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what I'm hearing. So, if you'd like to do that,
I can do it. I'm probably just a little more confused in the park board's role now.
well, if you don't want to do it,
Well,
I think this is from Pam. She said that we could look at those. And from what you're saying, I don't think that the park board has had a chance, all of you had a chance to look at it.
No, we
Okay,
haven't.
why don't you just go ahead and take that then and maybe as a park board look at that then? And
I think we can probably do that. I would say the only concern I had as a council member is if the east side or the west side or whatever the council would pick is that when we repave Main Street, I would prefer as a council member not to cut into newly repaved Main Street in order to.
And that reason I wanted to get this started, I would like to propose that, to the council that we get this plumbing into this side of the, inside of the park so that we can go on from there and if we did it on the east side, we're gonna have it underneath and go clear across on the other side. I'd be totally against that since we have something there, but the rest of you might vote me out, so, if that's where you wanna put it, that's what, we'll have to have it, but then that's gonna take all new plumbing as far as pipe and everything else.
That would be, well.
It's already there as far as there,
I think Jerry brought up a good point. If we picked another location and had to have a lift station, that we probably could use some of the parts, or at least the pumps, but ideally, even though that restroom is done, do you consider closing the existing one until a new gazebo is built, or what?
I don't think that would be open anymore, I don't think it would be, because we have too much manual that's there to keep that one open. Get rid of it completely after the first one's built. Maybe use it as storage for what we use in that other bathroom. Okay, that's what I'm going to direct then at the council. And you need to talk to Marty or Dan and to see if they can help them as to maybe, we've got to look at that maintenance too, wherever it is. If we have to go underneath that street, and we have to maintain that in any way, but you can see what that's going to cost too. But then we have to go into the other place underneath the street too, as far as it is. How far is it in there?
It depends on where along Main Street you're talking.
Well, is it on the east, on the west side now, kind of that manhole there, or not?
Yeah, it's about 3 foot off curb and gutter in the street on the west side.
Does it need to come inside the park if it's there? If we pick the west side or the center, does the plumbing have to come, or the sewer connection need to come inside the park in any way?
We'd have to connect the sewer to the main sewer line from the bathroom in the park, yes.
So where are we gonna do that?
It would have to be approximately 3 to 4 foot north of the south curb and gutter of Main Street.
Okay, so it needs to come inside before we can even, before we do the streets or what?
No, we would actually make the connection into the main in the street.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Go ahead and make that connection, and so we're ready whenever we do get the restrooms made.
Well, but, yeah,
If the center is, if the current location is chosen by your guys' survey of the current situation, is that nothing will need to be done.
correct.
Okay.
If the west side is chosen, as you said, where the manhole is about 3 feet off the south curb, and it would probably be good to tie into that if the west side is chosen.
I have it in another spot.
Yeah. Then if the east side is chosen, the sewer main goes on the north side of Main Street, and that we would basically have to cut all the way across to install that. So maybe what I heard you say is that we go ahead and do that, but I...
Go ahead and put the, if we put it on the east side, yes, we'll have to put it across there. But then if we can do it in the middle, that's where I was going to make my vote to go in the middle, and that's the reason I made my motion to set it in the middle of the park right where it is, and perhaps either tear it down, the existing building, or remodel. I had a person did say that could be remodeled into making restroom as well, so you wouldn't have to tear it completely down, but that probably is feasible, because we'd have to maintain that in another about 10 years, you'd have maintenance on that if you again.
And that was the idea from and the park board appreciates, I think it was the class of 1983 that raised the funds for the current facility. And it served us for about
Yes, it has.
30 years. The problem with the materials used is they don't last as long as some other materials. And with the issues that we have.
Well, do you think the park board would be wanting the city then to go ahead and look at some materials, or what do you think, or do you know?
The park board can come back and make a record. We can do whatever the council directs us to do. I don't think that is.
Well, I'd like to keep them working, because I know they have the interest to do it, and that way then we'd have their advice and their input, and that's what I want. I want their input as far as we can get to, and they're out and about and hear from other people as to where they want it. And I think they've already given them a good idea as to where they want it, so. Anyway, if you're not ready to do that, we'll go on with our regular.
Well, yeah, I guess we're not ready to do that, but for just clarification on my part, so I can deliver this to the park board, is that we are to look at the 3 different locations again that were included with the conditional use permit, and make recommendations back to the council for some options at each location. Would that sound
That
correct?
sounds right, but then can we eliminate any of those right now? Is there any of those 3 that we can eliminate, period, for the restroom? Any one of them? So that they will have even that little guideline as to what the council feels, because I don't think they know, how to proceed unless we get a location and then they can start planning or give us a plan. We can plan it, yes, but I don't think that that's fair to the park board. We have to do too much work. Mr. Dieter, you just got in on this conversation. Did you have any qualms with any three of the three locations, or any of the favorites of those three locations?
Well, I don't think we're in a position to decide tonight which location, in my opinion. I think any one of the three will probably work, but there's probably some that might be a little better. I was looking at the dimensions of the one that's proposed. And there's several dimensions, and it's pretty big.
It's good, that would be a new one.
The one in the center is gonna be pretty big. And there's plus and minuses for all three locations. And I think that's probably what the park board's problem is gonna be, to figure out which one is the
Well, we're
best.
gonna be the one that's gonna be the
Well,
one
I
that
think they
gives.
need to tell us what they think is the best.
Do you think they know which one they want?
Well,
They said they wanted the best, was the west side. I think that's what they told us first. That's what he was giving us at the first plan. And would you go with that plan? If you do, we would have a motion for that, and then they could get started with this project. I
don't
think you're
we
at
have
a
enough
quandary
information-
now.
I don't think we have enough information at this point to pick a location.
I don't either.
What do you want?
I want a plan of the building, so I see what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I wanna see what that building's gonna look like, because it depends on what that building looks like as to where we put it in the park. How big is it? If you have a big square
Would
building
you go
right in
for
the
as
middle,
big
I
as
would.
what they had planned, a 26-footer?
I gotta see where it's at in the park. 26, I need to know what they propose for each site.
Who's gonna decide where it's gonna be in the park?
Well, I'm assuming that's us that's
That's
gonna decide
exactly
that.
right.
But I wanna know, I wanna see, we're not ready to decide a spot
Okay,
right
we'll
now.
go on our thing, but you people are going to hear from our constituents, I think, as to we need to start moving on this particular project, or they're gonna give up.
Well,
So,
yeah, I would hope though that they don't give up, because we still need to fundraise for the project, and that we can do this. I would just ask that between the park board and city staff, either whether I'm directed or Doug through the park board, that we funnel all of this requesting information through Doug or city staff. So if the park board says we want this, Doug will go out and be the contact person with contractors, designers, whoever, because we've
well, I don't
done-
think we're
we've
ready to
all
go
done
to
it.
designers or directors and tell them, well, we can
Well,
use
we
locals.
but
We
we
can
all,
go
but
to
we
the
all
locals.
have, and to a certain point, I mean,
Yeah.
this was done,
Ms. Geist
with
did
that.
that.
Yeah, and that's one that we can definitely consider, but just to make sure that there's not half a dozen of us out there, that between the park board, we'll ask for information and we'll funnel it all through Doug so that
Okay? And
council members,
you-
park board members, all of this will funnel through the one location. So,
You will then be talking to Pam Denon, Director today.
yeah, I'll contact Pam so we can schedule our next park
Okay.
board meeting.
Thank you. All right, let's move along then to the number 7.
I was approached a week ago about the speed limit being too fast on Cedar Street. Well, as we got to looking into it, there is an old ordinance that says that the speed limit on North Cedar Street is, it should be only 15 miles an hour. It was never repealed. I'd like to repeal that ordinance, put it back to 30, and then in the school zone crossings, put during the school year, have a school zone signs that say, you know, from this time to this time, you're only allowed to go 20 miles an hour.
So you're going to extend your school zone?
No, I mean, there's, oh yeah.
There's only one.
There's 6 kids crossing, there's 2 of them.
Okay.
On Denver and Lawrence. So, but it needs to be repealed back to 30. And then during the school year, traffic will slow down. We talked about maybe changing it to 20 all the time, but the other thing was the truck traffic coming through to go to the co-op for grain and stuff like that. I don't think that'll work out too well, so. But anyways, it does need to be rebuilt, because we have 30-mile-an-hour signs up there right now, and it should be 15.
So then you're recommending north of Hudson, making that 40? That would be a great idea.
So, really, that's all I got.
When's the residential speed limit? Is
30.
it 30? What all the signs do you need?
And that was done because of that traffic.
Was there
Reason?
construction or something? Is that what
I
you?
think at the time, there may have been some construction on the curbs or something, so there was a detour.
I mean, this was back August 3rd, 1987, so I was not.
You weren't around,
I
man.
don't think I was old enough to drive yet.
Ouch.
This is the proposal, we better get rid of the old ones and we're all breaking those speed limits. I think we're going to be having all of us in the jail if we don't.
I think so. I mean, if you want to change them to 15, Clinton would be really happy because they just sit in his driveway.
And I'm glad you did the review of this. I think this is something. By the way, Mrs. Lang, while I'm thinking of it, how is our codification coming?
We are still submitting ordinances to the companies.
Okay.
And that's another thing. I'm starting to go through some of our ordinances. I don't have all of them like they do over here, and Doug and I talked about it. And hopefully, I will have them within the next few months, so I can go back and look through them. Because like our ordinance book doesn't have some of the ordinances that they have over here.
Well, when this company gets through with this, we'll have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because there's some things I know that we're missing out on that we should have that we don't.
Do we have any action to be taken?
I'll move to approve ordinance 1356.
Second.
Seconded by Jerry. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Number 8,
Per the council agreement, last meeting, we did go ahead and proceed with the agreement for the refinancing of 828 North Roosevelt. And the documents are in place there, and the council just needs to approve the agreement.
And Madam Mayor, before this agreement is discussed, I'm recusing myself from the discussion, but will be available to answer questions as far as Central National Bank is concerned.
okay. Susan?
Yes.
I'm going to refer to you. Is there anything in here that we actually need to know as far as details, or what can you tell us?
I reviewed it and it seemed fairly straightforward. I did not have any problems with it. And actually Doug and I went through it several times, so I'm comfortable.
Okay. And would you, for review of our, what we're doing, would you repeat what this is to clarify for how long and so forth?
This is a 15-year adjustable rate. The first 5 years are locked in on the adjustable rate. There will be an additional, every 5 years, there will be an adjustment based upon the prime, I believe.
5-year.
5-year T-bills. It will be paying off the outstanding principal balance of the Cottonwood Valley State Bank current lease purchase. The amount of payoff is approximately $234,700, $234,400. We went a little high to make sure that the $235,200 was sufficient to cover any outstanding obligations to Cottonwood Valley. Anything that is in addition to the actual payoff will be reimbursed back to the city, and then the city also will be paying the origination fee of $3,000 to Central National Bank. That's the basic terms of this agreement.
Any further questions by the council?
I have a doubt. What did that building start out at?
It was originally financed at $250, right? I think the original financing was $250. We've taken only about $15,000 off on principal in 5 years.
Well, that first 5 years was mainly.
It was on a 30-year amortization, so yeah, you were basically making interest payments.
But this is a 15-year,
15.
15.
Yes,
With
we've
the
already
5
paid
year.
5 years, so we've cut 10 years off a total obligation.
So you got a 5-year period before the interest rate goes up or down,
Or did. But, yeah.
whatever happens.
Before there's any adjustment to the interest rate, we'll have the first 5 years.
And if we sell it, we don't have a penalty.
The contract is written in that at any of the monthly scheduled payment dates, we can ask for a payoff amount, we can pay it in full without any prepayment penalty.
I move that we approve the agreement on the leasing and sale of the long-term leasing and refinancing of the building at 828 North Roosevelt.
That is out of Angela,
That's good enough,
is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jerry. This time is Jerry Klein. Any further questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0.
Or,
Actually, 4.
5, excuse me, 1 abstention.
Not an extension,
A
a
recusal.
You recuse? Yeah. Okay, on number 9, please.
a memo is presented to the council concerning a small area of the public parking lot directly south of the city buildings, west of the Elgin. The owners of the Elgin have been parking their private vehicles there as part of the assumed agreement with the operation of the Elgin Hotel. They would like to put on a 2-car carport for protection of their private vehicles. And I would ask if the city council would be willing to let me negotiate a long-term, right now proposing a 50-year lease at a minimal cost that allows them to have some control to place a carport at the area just directly west of the Elgin Hotel. The details I will work out and present to the council at the next meeting.
I have a question on the map. Is it the little box with the accent?
Yes, it
the
is.
location?
Yeah, roughly the box with the exit location. The blue spot is it was a tarp when the aerial was taken, so don't let that throw you off. It was a tarp on the roof. So it's the little blue X.
Because I thought they taught that.
To the best of my recollection, when I was as Economic Development Director, I brought it before the council. The council seemed interested in doing actually deeding over a portion of the parking lot, but the agreement and final action on the council cannot be found. And actually, I appreciate the city attorney's approach in that if we do a non-assignable 50-year lease, there would be the option then, if it changes ownership, if it changes use, and we haven't actually deeded over the ground, and then we won't have the problem of being able to utilize it for public parking in the future. This is only just a way to give them the ability to put up a carport for their 2 vehicles. I think it's a brilliant move on behalf of our attorney.
What type of carport is he proposing?
At this point, to the best of my knowledge, it's just those little white tubular steel with a white roof feature to them that's placed on any gravel prepared surface. There will be no permanent foundation, no permit is required.
No tie downs at all?
I'm sure that they are secured or anchored at some point at the footing, at the legs of the carport, but at this point.
Better have Marty check into that. Okay. As to what would be needed. Okay? If we do this. Any further discussion?
Would that have to go through zoning?
Well, that's the reason I'm having Marty look at it.
Oh. They might put cut an oil field tank, cut it in half.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, good shit.
I sure would.
I
suppose the lease could be written to cover a structure that would be approved by city council.
I think you better let Marty look into that, please.
Because it's dealing with real estate, I need council to just say, can I proceed?
Sure.
Need a motion for that?
No, we need a motion for that.
I think it's a consensus, and then we'll come back to you with what we come up, and then if you like it.
Because most of the structures like you're talking about are not gonna last 50 years, so.
No, they're not.
We'll get the property back long before.
Or you get the property back if they sell it to someone and we decide we don't want to agree with them, so.
What kind of agreements do you have down here at BCCC? It's just 50-year,
That's a 99-year lease.
Okay, you got your
All right.
instructions?
Yep.
Okay, number 9, 10.
Our Kansas State Legislature has acted upon the concealed carry issue. In effect, to boil it down very simply, in the long run, we have two options. One is we remove the no gun signs at the entrance of all municipal buildings if they're currently in place, or we have to either pay for armed personnel with a metal detecting wand or a metal detector permanently installed at every municipal entrance, which at this point, without question, would be the museum, the library, the south entrance to the municipal building, and the east entrance to this municipal building. There is an option of taking a 6-month exemption from compliance with the law that allows you to study the issue, but I have not been able to find anything that in the long run stops us from making one decision or the other. And quite frankly, the budgetary constraints for putting in 4 metal detectors at our entrances or having a full-time staff with an electronic or with a metal detecting wand is quite honestly not feasible. So my recommendation would be that we just take our no gun signs down. But if the council wishes, I can ask for an extension. A copy of an example of that extension was provided, and I can get a little more clarification as to how far this goes. Keep in mind, the city owns the baseball stadium. I don't know how we handle the baseball complex. City provides a stipend and financial support to the pool. I don't know if that'd be included. So
Have you talked to the school as to whether there's,
this is municipal only, so the school is not under this
Municipal
obligation.
county, the courthouse is gonna have to make a decision
courthouse
too.
too?
What about this 4-year exemption?
I think you have to come up with a safety plan.
The 4-year exemption would be if we came up with something that would be able to support the metal detectors or the armed patrol with the metal detecting wands that would be acceptable to the Attorney General. There was quite a discussion on the Kansas City Manager's website or the listserv that comes across. Larger communities, typically we're seeing a tipping point around 20,000. They're trying to find out if they can do some sort of written exemption that's accepted by the Attorney General. Quite honestly, a community our size, it's to meet any sort of metal detection. But if you wish, we can send this letter off and I can try to see if we can pull a rabbit out of the hat in the next 6 months. I'm not seeing one right now, unless the legislature decides to change the parameters of their compliance.
Because in the situation of the school, I can see how that they have a lockdown, probably procedure. Would qualify I know the hospital qualifies under the 4-year exemption because they do have a lockdown procedure. Actually, they can throw a switch and lock all the doors. But you don't have that with like the museum or the pool or anything else,
You might have it at the pool.
with the school.
Pool's the least of our worries. It's pretty much your library, your city building, and your museum.
So if we take down the signs, we're all right.
We're done.
Yeah.
And I don't know that a sign, a little piece of paper really deters anybody anyway.
I can run around maybe all day long, see to make sure that there is nobody coming in with guns.
Go buy one.
That to me would be the only thing that we have an option to do right now. It's gonna be too costly for us, it looks to me like.
Madam Mayor, I move that we remove our no carry signs at the entrances of our municipal buildings
Okay, is there a second?
on July 1st.
I say,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Jerry. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Number 10.
I have been approached by the same stone craftsman that's handled the Elgin Hotel improvements. And I talked to him about the deterioration of the Liberty Park wall, which is the west-facing wall on the east side of Liberty Park that says "In God We Trust." And he said he can get the holes repaired and patched and reinforce any cracks or visible damage for $2,800. And that does not include a repair of the actual painting. It's just the structural work of the stone, the stucco, concrete. And if the council would like to proceed, I can authorize him to do the work. You can postpone the effort right now and say, well, think about it, or you can request that I go out for competitive bids for the project.
Who did you say was going to do it? You told me the other day.
It's called Carved in Stone. They're out of around Cottonwood Falls, I
They've
believe.
done some work over here.
And they've done extensive work on the Elgin.
Okay, it wasn't the guy that was out here working on that building, was it?
Yes.
Could he tell, could we have a site visit to see what he would do to that? Because there are quite a few cracks and so forth, and that sounds like a good price for all the cracks that are there.
Yeah, all the cracks, anything that could be identified as structurally unsound, he's saying he would actually remove and put back in. So it would be, in effect, a full tuck-in point of that west side.
Well, I know he can do a good job, and if he would do it for $2,800, why, sounds to me like a thing, and then they'd have to go back in and do the painting. But as I told you, that Donna, whoever it was that was on the Cindy's there at the time, had that done. You're shaking your head?
Debbie.
You're trying to-
Debbie,
Yeah.
Debbie?
Debbie, because Donna had died.
Yeah, Donna. But then, didn't she the one that had it done originally?
Well, the painting.
The paint, yeah.
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 So would we need to talk to any of those guys at Cindy's or anything to?
I think since it's primarily patchwork, you could follow the lines of the existing mural. Unless you wanted to completely redo the mural, I would assume that there'd be enough craftsmen, artists in the area that we could get somebody, even making it a school project may be a wonderful thing for the art department. So the painting's not a huge issue, but I just want you to know that's not included in this pricing.
Well, but we were not the ones that did it originally.
But that is a party photo, isn't it?
Yeah.
In effect, it's our property.
That
That
wall
wall.
is your property? Okay. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
The main concern is the wall needs fixed.
Wall needs fixed. It actually weathered this last winter pretty well, but with additional holes in that, as moisture creeps in, if we have any freeze and thaw, it's going to just keep popping off.
Well, looks to me like that man's work was what the best out here did over here, as far as I can see.
Is that a concern right now that the amount of rain that we've had, there's a bunch of moisture behind the wall?
I think right now, because we don't have a freezing event coming up, that the expansion is not a concern. And also, this would be the time, not right now would be the time to do it, but in 2 weeks, if we don't get any rain, it'll get a good chance for that to cook out, get it nice and dry behind and then repair it. Once it's repaired, he does ask for 2 to 3 weeks for that concrete to cure before we do try to paint anything. Otherwise, the moisture will come out and bubble the paint. So,
And I assume his bid, if he gets into something, that it could go up. I mean, this is, he gets a little bit closer.
I don't have anything in writing.
And a
so,
chunk falls off.
yeah. And that's where I'm bringing it to council. I was given this quote, I'm presenting to the council. You want me to get rid of the contract? You want me to bid it out and find out if there's other local providers that want to tackle it? I was asked to ask the council if they were interested in having this repaired.
But he was thinking that he could do a good job on it for $2,800.
Correct.
Because I know there's quite a little bit of damage there I can see that he would have to be repairing if he did a good job. And so I'd like to see maybe a sketch of the sketch, you know, where he's gonna be, the cracks and so forth that he'll be doing there. But did he tell you anything, or did he take you down there to show you anything? No?
We went to the wall and we discussed that there's one major hole in it, there's a couple smaller chips, and there's substantial cracking. And those were all supposed to be repaired to a structurally sound condition.
Okay, I would move to proceed with looking into the repair of the Liberty Park wall. Is there a second? Second by Todd.
Looking into, or,
Looking into so that you can see, come up with it.
so you're not wanting to accept this bid?
Well, if that bid's gonna be okay, I mean, if it's gonna be okay, if you're satisfied that it's okay with the repair job, you know, if you think it's gonna take care of the repairs.
Is there anybody local that's been on it?
I do know one other individual that's done work for the city, or for the school. You know, they put the Warrior Head into the Sports and Aquatic Center. I think there's at least one individual that probably could do that kind of work also.
The stonework, the one that did go on
There's one out.
On your-
Who did that?
Is that
On my wall,
Jack?
I had guys that did come out and do that.
He's not, because I know they was doing a good job as well.
I prefer we did it out.
Okay.
I'll withdraw this.
So look into it. I move you look into it, please.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll go on with just at that point then without it, with that, I'll withdraw my motion then and we'll just look into it for more bids or whatever. Number 12. The financial work session that I have proposing here is because of our city clerk coming to us at the last meeting with a recommendation of getting someone from our auditing firm to come and do this work session. And then she also then gave me a financial crisis toolkit for me to read. And having been through this particular document and through the questioning of the auditors, I am not as familiar with the financial statements as I should be, and I have a feeling that there's somebody else on this council that maybe would have to say that as well, because we need to be well aware of what's going on in our financial, as well as depending upon our girls to do that. And so with that being said, I don't know. I asked her as to whether she would be able to give us a good financial work session without going through this $500. What do you think, Angela?
I can present the information that we have, but I think it would be good for you to talk to the auditors also, because there are many things that he's gonna be able to tell you that I don't have.
Are they going to be able to look directly at our financial things and take
The
a step
$500
forward?
when I talked to him was going to be a very general presentation. If we wanted him to look into it more, he's done it for other cities, and we were looking at more like $3,000 probably.
Okay, and from that particular work session, we should come up with perhaps developing this policy that they were recommending.
That's something you're gonna have to decide. Basically, he's willing to come on site for about 2 hours for $500 and talk about whatever, what other financial information you need to talk about.
Our own financial records.
Basically, just giving you the brief explanation of how financial statements work, how the budget process works, general information, not down to the details that I think you're looking for.
Well, from this particular toolkit here, I think we need to know more about our own financial reports that you've given us, and to make sure that we are knowing what's going on in our revenues and expenses more than I do right now. I know that these revenues are coming in, but I don't know, okay, how much is taken in out there to the airport, how much is taken in and someplace else, and I think that's general knowledge that maybe we should have.
I think he would be able to take our financial statements and basically just like the audit report and present information to you, but as far as perhaps budgeting out like the cash reserve balances for the next 5 years or anything extensive like that, you're going to be looking at more time spent doing this at a higher fee.
All right, I'm just going to put those, I think we would benefit more from you to take us through some of this and the work session, or, yeah.
I would be more than happy to present the information to you.
And I think that that would satisfy my needs. And I would, I'd like to, so you have had a chance to read this, and Todd, I would,
The information that Mayor Olson has is just an article that Scott Lloyd had emailed on to me when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. So if anybody else is interested in that, I'd have to email that out and make copies for you.
this was good. I mean, it talked about the crisis that you can get into, and then some of the strategies of getting out of it, and then what we should know about economic development and recovery strategies. So I thought it was very good. So I would really like to have all of the council maybe to take that and then have a short work session on what maybe our policies could come up with to understand some of those financial reports better than I do. And I've had 5 years or 6 years to do it.
So, are you
I would like
authorized?
for her to make sure she gets this out to each one of our,
So you're not wanting to spend the 500?
no, that wasn't my intent really before. I wanted to make sure that she could, whether she could do it or not too, so, but that, I don't think we need to spend the $500. What do you think, Glenn?
I don't think we have a problem in our audit that we had certain
I
things wrong.
think that based on our depleting cash reserves and the fact that the excess value basically across the state is pretty much decreasing right now, I think we need to sit back and look at our cash reserve balances a lot harder than we have in the past, because they are not where we really want them to be in case of emergency.
With our reserves and so forth like that.
Well, Doug, that kind of, there's the reporting part, which Angela does. You work with us more on the budgeting part. Are there some, are they providing other seminars that they're bringing in? Their other municipal clients that one of you, Doug, you can go to some training to catch up on that, or you?
I think the $500 and this 2 hours that the auditors are recommending, or at least have suggested, gives a basic framework and an understanding of what municipalities across the state are expected to be maintaining to maintain a healthy cash balance. And in some respects, I think sometimes this council would prefer to hear that kind of news from our auditors, maybe more than what they might hear from Angela or I as we present. I think that we are still sitting pretty good as far as operational, but we definitely need to look into the framework, what is accepted in the state, what we are expected to do as a municipality that may actually influence our budget decisions for 2014. So it's a very timely discussion in getting, and Angela's already taken the class, and so if council is satisfied with that between Angela and I, we can take recommendations from this class and present it to the council, and that would be sufficient, then yeah, why spend the money?
You know Don, what's his name, that worked for the MKL, and Don was.
Don Moeller?
Yeah, no.
Ozenbach?
He does it, he did a good financial one for, and if you run into trouble, I know he would help you too. He works for the MIT, won't?
Oh, he works for KBIT, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you he would help you out if
And city code. Yeah, more city code.
you needed some help on that too.
Okay.
Okay? But I would like for you all to get this and read it because it was good reading. Right, let's go on with the department heads now. Department. Has Marty got anything further to tell us?
You have his written report on work that was done. I think Marty would echo, as well as all the crews, that we worked for Chingawassa Days, bringing all of our municipal services up to speed, and we're very appreciative of the efforts that Chingawassa did, and really doing very minimal damage to the park. We had a lot of people in and out that park, and it's looking pretty good the day, or 2 days after the event, so. I have no other answers on that unless you have any questions concerning those work orders.
I have a question about closed alleys or maintenance of the closed alleys and the use of the property owners that's right next to them. How does that work? Can they use it as a kind of an alley or?
Well, you're talking about a specific situation that's still in flux. I can tell you generally, if it is a open alley that has not been abandoned by the city, that would be required by ordinance, I believe, that does become a potential for public access if it's improved. We do have some blocks within the city that still have alleys on the books in the plats that's recorded at the county, but there's absolutely no logistical way to use them as alleys. When there becomes an issue, as this one location comes in, it really becomes the will of those landowners as to whether or not they want to keep it as an alley. In this case, probably upon their wishes, the best approach on this is to be able to abandon the alley portion officially, but maintain all our utility easements so that we can get back and do any utility maintenance on the electrical, gas, water, or sewer.
What if there isn't any alley there?
That's an unimproved alley, so when you're sitting there in your car looking at it, it's really not an alley. If you go to the county, it's still a platted alley.
Okay.
And so in this situation, my recommendation would be that we would abandon the alley because we can barely get back there. We really don't want to get back there unless we have to work on the easements. And because of the previous use from the other landowners in the area, it appears to me as though the majority of the landowners would prefer that it not be public access on that alley. So that is something that I've already been discussing with several of the residents, and upon their recommendations, I'll be coming to the council probably shortly with how we want to proceed.
And then I also have somebody approached me about an easement that was used for repair of a electrical problem we had during a lightning storm. And how are we proceeding with that?
The line in question is basically our 12.5 loop on the north side, plus some 2400 primary that comes along the same lines. And it runs along the northern edge of development just south of our city limits lines up on the hill. And we will have to probably find some way to negotiate an easement or some other official document that allows the city to go back and maintain those lines. And I'm still working on that.
There isn't one, there's no,
Have you talked to the owner of that particular property?
I have not talked to the owner of the property that we would need to probably talk to about getting that easement done.
I think you better.
I am.
Okay. Just a courtesy call would be appreciated, I think. Okay? Any other questions for Marty? Okay, how about our chief of police?
One thing I'd like to add to my report is how well Chingawassa Days went over the weekend, and there was no major incidents during any part of it, so I was pretty pleased with the way it all went.
Do you think it was the presence of all the officers that might have helped, or?
It might have helped a little bit. I mean, there was 15 of us, so you never know what to expect. But I mean, it went really well.
Well, that's what I thought. It didn't look to me like there was anything to really much worry about as far as.
No, everyone in that park was safe, I can tell you that.
And got out of there pretty quick, like when the rain started raining, before it started raining.
I stuck around.
You stuck around.
I had a question on his electrical survey. Is that complete now?
The question about the electrical survey, the GIS mapping field work has been completed, but I have not seen any preliminary mapping returned.
Okay, the guys with the bright
Yes,
vests are now finished walking.
that's correct. They were done Thursday afternoon, if not Friday
I
morning.
got a couple of questions. I mean, people ask me what was going on.
Right.
And they painted little red dots on all the poles.
Those are targets.
Yeah. So
That's what they're afraid of, huh?
Yeah, well, no, they just was wondering what was going on. Thank you.
By the way, for Christian's question, there are quite a few dead trees in the parkway as he's doing it, or along the parking there, and I would think that it's between the sidewalk and the curb. What's being done about those? Are they going to be left for the property owner to take those trees out, or what?
Throughout the city, just generally?
Just generally, did you see some of them that could be falling down and getting into?
If we see diseased trees or damaged trees that have branches leaning over, particularly any of our overhead lines, those are fully removed by the city crews and hauled away. Anything that's over the road that is dead that may cause the potential of it falling on vehicles or people, those are removed. If the tree is substantially damaged, but the actual trunk is on private property, we give it up to the landowner for the option of taking it down. If they do say they want the tree removed, if it is an impairment to our utilities, as long as they give us permission only to just cut it down within 6 inches of the ground, we will remove the tree.
Okay, that's what I thought the policy was, but then there has been no reporting to you as to those kind of trees that are being seen.
Yeah, actually, last week I had a report, and the crews were out the next day, and I got a compliment saying they did an excellent job getting it cleaned up. So if you know of something, let me know, and we put it on the list. It's usually addressed very quickly.
Well, I think there's more showing up all the time, because it's dead, looks to me like.
Last 2 summers have not been good for our trees.
Okay, how about Angela? Does Angela have anything for us?
I don't have anything to report.
Okay, Susan?
Don't have anything to report.
How about Mr.?
I did receive a phone call or a letter this afternoon. If you recall, the city council agreed to take to the Department of Transportation a grant request for the downtown revitalization transportation enhancement. Unfortunately, we were not granted that grant. There were 91 total applications, only 37 were awarded. So 40% of the applications that were submitted were actually accepted. So we were part of the 60% which was not. And their next application round date has not been determined. But once that has been determined, we will probably come to the council and say we want to take another run at it. I want to thank in particular Pam Bowers and Sally Hannaford and Karen Ringy for their excellent efforts bringing it to this point, and I encourage them not to lose heart. We'll take a run at it again with the council approval.
And Darren is doing it.
And Darren did some excellent work, obviously, with the drawings.
That's just what. Okay, is that all you have for us?
That's all I have, yes.
Okay, public forum?
Did you wish to hear from our economic
Oh,
developers?
my goodness.
I appreciate that. I really submitted last Friday, respectfully to all of you, an update for week one. Best way I'm learning the past, the present, and the future as quickly as I can. And be better equipped by next council meeting.
Did you realize you were going to run into this mess out here when you took the job or what?
I'll just say that my construction skills come in handy.
Did they? I ran into his office looking for Angela today, but I don't know how many times I'll do that before it's over with. Anyway, we appreciate having you around already. Anyone else that needs to talk to us? If not, oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
I didn't see your hand.
I have several things to address. First, Doug mentioned grants for the city park. Is there any way that we could pursue that?
The CAN step, I believe, is on a monthly basis, so that we could apply on that basis at any given time. The CDBG award process for 2013 is over, and we typically do those in January.
There's 2 awards for the year.
Okay, and we'd have to find out on community facilities. There's several different classifications. This would fall under community facilities, CDBG.
How about that one that you applied for, that home, whatever it was, the Hope Town or whatever, like $10,000?
When we were doing our fundraiser, I think that was the Hamburger Helper hometown. I honestly haven't looked into it since we did that, but I'm sure it's still going.
I know whether that would be something again that we might apply for.
And Roger?
Roger?
CAN step grants had to be, the preliminary plan had to be presented by April 30th. So we have missed this cycle, but because it is a community involvement sweat equity program, we need to show through a cost analysis that we'll be able to provide 40% of the value of the project through community labor in order to apply and receive that grant.
And my next question is about this alley that you're referring to. There are several different things that are sitting on that alley, like building and fences. Are they going to be removed if we close the alley?
The question is, if existing structures exist in an alley that has been unmaintained, if we abandon the alley, will there be any changes to the structures or the locations of the structures?
Let me say that the zoning reg says that any building has to be with 10 feet of the property line, that setback on the property lines.
I spoke to Marty about the existing buildings that are in place, and those buildings probably were omitted from those regulations when they were installed. If we abandon an alleyway, it really doesn't affect anything associated with the buildings themselves. And my take right now is all those established structures would remain.
Okay. If an emergency arose where they have to go in there and work on the sewer or something, if they're sitting over the sewer, do you have the right to take them down?
Yeah, right now, if there's any underground facilities or equipment, if there's gas lines, water lines, sewer lines in which the building is on top of and we need to maintain, it would become the owner's responsibility to remove those because they were placed on the easement. At this point, with our overhead wires, we can still get our vehicles back there with the structures in place.
Okay. My 3 minutes is up, so you're going to have to ask.
No, they're not, because we've given you some answers.
And my third and last item was the trees was still hanging over my power lines in the alley. And Marty has come up and looked at them, and he said that there's a building sitting under there and they won't remove them. But the limb is over the line like that. Is there any way we could cut the limbs off at least?
I've sent Christian and Marty down there, so I'm not too sure what.
You need to come down and look at them then.
Okay, all right.
said it, just say that they would take the tree down, which is what he wants.
Well, that's, well, most parking.
Any other questions,
Yes.
comments? Yes.
Just out of curiosity, what size sewer lines would you install for our new restrooms, whatever location they pick, except the center?
I would leave that up to the engineer. I know that right now we're saying it's 1.25 inches at the existing one, and we think that would work.
I can't
But-
believe that.
Well,
But that's
and
not-
that's not that's a force main. I mean, it's not a gravity. So that one is on a lift, it's on a grinder pump, and it's force mained up to our gravity sewer system. So
Okay, it's 1.5 inches all the way to the main?
it's 1.25 inches all the way to the main.
1.25 inches? And
Ron?
Yes.
I talked to Earl Leonard about that particular kind of a pump, and I guess there are some new ones that are doing a lot better job with 1.25 inches. So you might talk to him and see what he says.
We have several lift
It
pumps.
doesn't make any difference, but that sounded so small to me that.
I know it.
We have several lift pumps on the North Hill that are running with grinder sewage pumps, and they're running a 1-inch main, or 1-inch force main to the gravity. And it's actually designed to be fairly small so that you actually get the material moved. Because the larger the pipe, the more slop you're going to have in there. And they actually want to design the pipe smaller so you get a force through and you keep it cleaned out.
The only problem I can see with our situation here is the fact that they're not used at all, or they're gonna be overloaded. You know, that's all.
There's a
Whatever the
retainer
line is,
tank.
it needs to be big enough, they would take care of that.
The engineers that have a lot more experience than me will tell me what works.
Okay, next question is, you people don't have any written rules about these carports you're talking about, people are setting up, which you're talking about here at the Ellsman. Any tie-down rules at all for that situation?
I would ask Marty for sure, but at this point, I'm not aware of anything.
Well, I
Okay, the
believe
reason-
that there is a type, because the building the Kiwanis Group put up at the youth center, that had to be anchored.
It had to be?
It had to be anchored
Okay.
down.
And I think up there, September 1, there's not been one.
There's one, yeah, there is one in the parking lot.
That would be a Marty issue.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I experienced that. I was interested several years back now in putting one of them up, and I made the mistake of coming to the city office, talking to, I guess, the inspector about the rules. Well, there was no written rules. But he had his opinion about what it should be, which was other than any others I had seen around town. And when I left that office, his instructions for me, for my tie downs, was that for every one of those things that, you know, come around the roof and the side, every post, or whatever you call that, would require a 2-foot diameter by 3-foot deep piece of concrete. Consequently, I don't have one. So,
That was just for cardboard.
yes, one of them tie downs like you're talking about. So I guess it's, but he says, I don't want them blowing on your neighbor. I said, I don't either, but I haven't seen anybody else putting in like that. I guess it's a
Well,
matter
there's some other people
of
that are in
who's making the
I think
decision,
they're
I
gonna
guess.
Coming in and doing the same thing. Next to me, getting some plans made, so Marty's got his work cut out for him. Okay?
Thank you.
Motion for adjournment is now in order, I guess.
So moved.
Moved by Chris. Second by Jared. Any further discussion? All in favor, say